So if you want to take the battery chargers and your power drawer and then stack them up and down vertically and you want it to look like this, go ahead and keep on watching this video and see how I did it.
So on this Milwaukee charger, what I'm doing is I'm taking these screws out, and they will still be long enough to drill a hole in the drawer and then start screwing in. So instead of having like a sheet metal screw ran through there, I just have this in there. It's smaller and cleaner. It's the factory thread anyway. I ain't got to screw up the hole in the tool. So on this particular model, the center to center on the top is exactly 5 inches and 3/4, like right on the dot to the centers. So I did some mismeasuring earlier. These are 4 3/4 apart on the top ones. So make sure you measure over and over and over of where you want them 2 dots to be. Make sure you measure correctly, because you do not want to keep drilling into your box and putting holes everywhere and make it look all fucked up. So I already did one hole here just to test out. I was videoing it. Something happened with my camera and it quit, so I had to restart. So I got one hole done. What I'm going to go ahead and do is go ahead and start the other hole. And what I'm going to do is get a center punch and a hammer, and I'm going to make sure that this drill bit does not walk, and it is exactly where I want it. And then I'm going to use my 7/64 drill bit and make that hole.
So guys, I'm going to stop the video right here before you watch me drill holes on the side of my expensive toolbox like a moron. Another quick tip you can do is get your charger, flip it over, put a piece of paper on there, and feel around where the hole's at. And make a hole in your paper, like where it goes. You know, there's one. Now what you should really probably do is tape this down so it doesn't move, obviously. You know, there's the other hole. But make your holes in here, and then when they're all perfect, put this right on your drawer and then tape it. That way the piece of paper can't move, and now you know where your holes are all at.
So the hole is now made. So what I'm going to do is, now this hole is just a hair, and I mean a hair smaller than these screws, which is how I want it, because it'll thread in it. Just like that. So they'll actually be tight in there as well. So that's a hair bit of extra security in my opinion. So now I'm just going to put this up there and hope I drilled in the right holes. And I just put 2 on the top, and it's pretty strong. Let's go ahead and put a battery on there and try to rip it off. 2 screws just in the top instead of 2 more down low, in my opinion, is pretty strong. You can go ahead and put 2 or 4 in there if you want, and that's probably even better, but I think 2 is good enough. So let me go ahead and do that to the rest of them, and let's see how it goes. So now here's what it's like with 2 of them on there. And on this one, I guess it's from a different year, so the screws were a little bit bigger than the other side. So I had to go one size up from a 7/64 on that one. And I think it's just a little bit not level, but I'm not being super picky about this. I'm fine with that. So this rapid charger I have, the holes are recessed in there really deep. And by the time you start getting a thread, anyway, it won't work. The screws are not long enough on the rapid chargers. So what I had to do is take it apart, and you got to really be careful. But what I did is I took a drill bit and I drilled it out just a hair bigger on each little hole, and then I made it the size where I could run one of these little sheet metal tech screws through it, which I don't want to do, but that's what I'm going to do. But you could see how the tip of that screw started to get kind of hot and it wanted to protrude through the edge here. So you can't really make these holes not but what, just a hair bigger, or else you'll destroy that hole and now you'll never be able to put screws there ever again. So you got to be careful what you do. So for the rapid charger, I ended up finding these screws. They are a little bit longer. They're flathead, but that'll do. The threads are a little different, but what I did is I drilled the holes out a hair bigger, but the holes are still just a hair smaller than the screws. So as I tighten these up, they'll kind of create their own threads, and they'll still be tight in there. So these should work. For some reason on this charger, when I put the battery in there and pull it out, it's kind of floppy on the bottom. The two screws in the top aren't enough. So I'm putting one in the middle, and it's kind of hard to measure exactly where that goes. So what I did is I ran my two top screws in and I lined them up and actually put a rivet down in this bottom one. All I did is just set it in there, and I used a paint marker and put a lot of wet paint right on the tip, and then I just lined it up exactly where it goes and pushed it all the way flush, and that paint transferred right to the drawer. So that right there is where the hole needs to be. So another thing I want to do is mount the Streamlight charger for my flashlight. Now the little screws that came out of it are a little too short, so what I'm going to do is the couple Milwaukee screws that I got left over, I'm going to use them because they are the same thread and the same size. So this is what it looks like when it's finally done. I tried to zip tie as much of the cords up underneath as I could, so now I could fit batteries underneath the chargers for more storage as well. There is the two screws for the Streamlight, and it is on there extremely tight. I got no worries with that. Here's the screws on the back. Other than that first one needing a third one, the others seem pretty tight, and I don't think I'll need a third one as long as I'm not, beating them up and I'm not being an idiot. But that is what she turned into.